Mike, I'm gonna give you credit on.
What's up?
I'll give you credit on Coinbase. We can start talking about Bitcoin if you want.
What do you want to give me credit about? What did I do right? I'm down $6,000 in it.
Oh,
You like it long?
I think you got to start looking at it a little
Yeah.
bit, man. You know, I mean,
All right, we're live. All right, good morning, everyone. It's May 19th, 11:05. We're a couple of minutes late because we have our special head of equities, Mike Lombardo. He's been in the business just as long as me. I'm sure you can tell by the way he talks and the way he articulates about trading. Both New Yorkers. We're been at TradeView for many years now. But what we're going to do is start as usual with the routine. Once again, I will stop saying this eventually, but I'm not going to do it anytime soon. We're going to get into routine and not to sound redundant. We're going to go to TradeGate Hub. We're going to sign in. The main room, my room is the stocks room, which is predominant. It's only stocks, if you will. The main room also has a Forex, charts about, or people even complain, people even talking about the market, not necessarily complaining, but it's a chat room. It's what you want to do. It's a herd mentality. You know what I mean? I just was telling Tim, our boss the other day, that I miss being on the desk. And there's something to say about that. It's not, you hear about a lot of athletes. My dad was an athlete, and what they say what they miss the most about it is, they miss the locker room and the bus ride, even though it's not a luxury bus. So what I'm saying is, being part of TGH and having a community here, and me basically tailoring it to what my needs would be and what draws my attention. Mike L, of course, the same. Tim, of course, naturally has the final say on input, but right there, we literally have over 100 years of trading experience. So what I'm saying is we're trying to put out the best product, and it's, it helps me too. It's almost like when you were in school and you wrote down index cards and you went over them and you tried to study. It helped you, and it helps me too. I hope I reach as many people, we reach as many people as possible, but that's why we're here. All right, next. Okay, so as per the routine, this was tactical sentiment coming into today. All right, so as you can see, from the beginning of May here, we've been bouncing around the oversold territory where a lot of the shorts have paid off. Yes, there's been rotation, and some groups have paid off nicely. You have to catch it. And it is a macro market where rotation predicated upon the dollar and the Fed and money, and even with the pullback in crypto, it's been a macro. It's more been of a macro big traders market than speculation, if you will. So we started the day a little bit in the oversold territory. Today being we're down in the green again somewhere. Well, actually not down. We were down in the green. We'll go back to the charts afterwards, but we should be still, in the oversold territory by no means. Here was major call activity I had from yesterday. Unity Software, Triple D, the printer play, CPNG. I'm long calls. I said that yesterday. All right. So once again, coming into today, here was the S&P. A little bit in the stock picking territory in no man's land. We call it the danger zone from 40 to 60. It could do anything, or if you want to say it's a chop situation. But this is what we're interested in. The NASDAQ coming into today was right here. After the bounce was evident yesterday. Once again, we weren't alone, but we came in yesterday off the green line. Certainly the risk reward ratio on buying good quality stocks, which we said yesterday, green stocks worked. We'll go back when we get to the charts. I'll point out a couple, but certainly again with the precipitous drop in the NASDAQ, we're in the oversold territory again. And as I said this morning, the NASDAQ is oversold, and I will buy some. That was 3 hours ago, whatever it was, 9 o'clock. Okay, this is the Bitcoin flows. Everybody's out of the pool. That means everybody's out of the pool. So that means you want to start to take a look at it. I'm not saying I'm calling the bottom. Mike Lombardo will have a good opinion about that. I'm sure about Coinbase. He's been following it. He's also does our risk department and knows what's going on and how people are trading as well, which is even more so important to a degree, in my opinion, sometimes of price action. That's a qualitative thing. That's the herd mentality. So once again, with the Bitcoin at the lowest it's been in some time, and just let me point something out here with the Bitcoin. Yeah, Kathy Wood. She said something very relevant today, and I'm watching how they're going to. I should have this prepared. How they're going to handle the Bitcoin. I'll get it afterwards. The bottom line is she says, "Oh yeah, Bitcoin, Kathy Wood, Bitcoin on sale after route. Not necessarily a bottom, but you still think it's going to 500,000." So I'm going to keep that in mind. She's been wrong lately, but her calls have been what's been flowing these stocks in the market. You know, just like how everybody liked to drive the GameStop shorts up. The same thing is going on. The antithesis is going on with Kathy Wood. They're driving these stocks down because they know she's so heavy in them. So naturally, for trades, we like them to capitulate. We'll get in that more. I'm not saying we're calling the bottom, but they are good trades when volume comes in, like the skills trade, stuff like trades like that. Today's info. Yesterday's stocks predicated upon range, plug power. Write that down. Ride. There's number 2. Where's my pen? There's number 2, Ride. That's a stock that I want to mention that I missed the trade was because unfortunately I had my hands full. But Ride yesterday had a 20% range, 34 million shares, a 20% gain, a 20% range on 34 million shares. And same with Fisker, which had earnings. So the group moved. There's XL Capital, QS, which I traded this morning. I'll write that down as well. QS. So that group was active. It just wasn't a one-time wonder with Ride. Fisker went as well. So we got to keep those in mind. The down movers, they went to oils, Devon. Those happen to follow through again. So as you see a theme here, when oils are down and techs are up, and those type of speculative stocks are up, there's rotation going on. This was the pre-market gainers. I'm going to post them every morning. Once again, I'm not going to get into it or get too advanced. Okay, I bought some coin at 224. That's where I first nibbled, and I first bought TQQQ at 8804. That was my first purchase. My comments every day. I took a look at some Lebu, XBI, bought more TQQ 9720, 8720. That is 8722 below here. So TQQ and Lebu. I bought SI at 8813. And one more thing that I like was Solars here. That was hours ago. Run and plug. So we don't want to keep Mike Gill on too long because he's got some things to say, I'm sure. So those are my trades. So Nugget and Gold Roll moving up like Solars. So once again, those are my trades. I was looking at yesterday's movers. I was on my Twitter feed with option flow here on one of my proprietary, or one of my feeds that I follow has been all over the place. So that's where I sit. So let's go back to the charts. Sound like Warner Wolf in the old days. You know that way is Mike.
Let's go to the videotape.
Yeah, that's exactly. Okay, so let's go.
We're old.
Okay, that's okay though. We're hanging in there. All right, so this is what we're doing. Okay, the first I wanted to talk about was the NASDAQ in general before getting stock specific was TTQQ. Now it's a triple ETF. It's not for the faint of heart. Keep in mind that let me go back to a TradeGate Hub and reiterate that the reason why I did that is the NASDAQ was completely oversold in the green territory, and it has a tendency to bounce, as well as the overall sentiment was down there. So with the market looking down, the 52 handles and NASDAQ 200, I picked a spot on the TQQQY. My first spot was what? 8804. This is the weekly chart. Let's go to a monthly chart. 8804 is right here. 8804. Yeah. That's where I picked it up. This double bond, this line here. So I tried to catch the neckline, if you will. I was prepared to buy more at 8713 which my second purchase was 87.22 on the TQQ. Now that was a feeler on the NASDAQ, as a gauge for the NASDAQ. And my second purchase was 87.22. Okay, so now I'm in the game with the NASDAQ going down. I know I'm not going to get the bottom. I'm prepared to lose a little bit more. Let me delete those lines. So, and this is basically what the NASDAQ did today. It went from 87.31. The prices are on the right here. And we're at 90. You know, it's a nice trade, 87 to 90 and a half. Where's it going from here? I don't know. It's got a gap to fill. It's, you know, it's definitely below the moving average. That was for a trade. You know what I mean? It's up to you. You know, I have a couple of accounts where I swing trade. If I didn't come in with other positions that I had to work out of, that would have been, or if I came in flat, like I was talking to Mike before, that would have, you know, I would have made a good amount of money buying whatever, 8,000 shares, maybe, whatever it may have been. It made 2 or 3 points. I would, you know, I would have let it roll a little bit, but I had other stuff to deal with. That's on me. But I did hedge, and that was a good trade. Let me talk about another one. SI. SI was the crypto play. It got upgraded today by Webbush. I'm not really a person playing on upgrades, but yesterday it had great volume, and it finished near the, well, actually didn't finish near the high. The Bitcoin got weak, but it's above the moving averages. I looked at the 3-day chart. What did I buy it at? 88.13. My purchase was, yeah, right around these two spikes here. This spike in volume and this spike in volume right here. So I got sexy, but I let it run a little bit. I took some off. That was a good trade, 88.13. I took some off. I let it, once it got through the open here, I let it run a little bit at 91.80. I think I sold it at 93.18, whatever. We move on. I'm not going to really, that's a stock I don't want to hold because I don't have a long-term view on Bitcoin. Run and plug. Plug was a stock that was been active the past couple of days, no question. It had news. It's trading huge volume. It's trading 30-40 million shares a day. It's above all the moving averages. I actually came in long run, and I had to double down. That, believe me, that number was a lot worse. When I bought it this morning at 38, sold it at 40. It went to 41. I needed to get out of the trade. I'm not married to it. Looks good here though. But going forward, we're going to get Mike L. What do you think? So what's your opinion on going forward today about Bitcoin, if you want to start there?
Yeah, let's start with Bitcoin, Mike. So you have, you know, and I'm going to give you credit. I'm going to start out giving you a ton of credit. Coinbase IPO'd a little less than a month ago. And I remember on our chat and talking to you, you came out and said, hey, you know what, this could be a perfect buy the rumor, sell the news. And that's exactly what happened. I mean, this thing, it IPO'd, the IPO price was at 250. It opened up at 380, traded up to 420. And now it's down to, it traded as low as 208 this morning, bounced back up. It's up to 222. But you had the call on that. Bitcoin is not, it topped out right around the same time.
Mike, may I interrupt for a second? Are you sharing your screen, or should I share the chart when you're talking?
Whatever you're comfortable with. Yeah,
let's talk about coin. Go ahead. I didn't know what screen you were sharing.
Yeah, you can bring up coin. Go ahead. So if you just look at the daily, I mean, it started trading, I believe, the 14th of April or so. It's been about a month.
Yeah, it came out public at 428.
Right. And it had that big, huge move up. There was a lot of news about Kathy Wood being in the stock, and she's still buying after it opened up. And, you know, she's definitely talking up her book a little bit, I think, trying to keep these things from falling even further. But I do like her comment, and I do agree with her that some of the stuff is a little bit on sale. And Mike, I mean, how many times do we see it? I mean, time and time again, right? When you get retail traders that go in and they just, the herd mentality, they're all chasing, you know, the fast money, and Bitcoin's going from 30,000 to 40 to 50 to 60, and these guys are all buy, and you know, there's no sort of gauge for any sort of risk, and they all get caught holding a bag, and you know, when the herd wants to get out, it's like a herd of elephants trying to get through a doorway, and this is what happened today. And you had look what happened with Binance, you know, and guys couldn't, they stopped all withdrawals, And so again, these are signs when you start seeing that kind of activity, these are signs that where you start want to think about getting in.
Well, I'm
I
in.
love,
May
yeah,
I say something? This is okay. Let's talk. Let's say regardless, the stock could be the stock rate. This chart could be they could make widgets. Let's be hypothetical. But so far, a stock as of 11:20 a.m. that has traded almost 100% of its volume and has a range of 2805 to 31, whatever type of, what is that, a 20% range? What, an 15% range? I don't care what it is. You have to be watching. You have to be in it. Is that right?
I 100%. I mean, look, that's where the volatility is, and not only that, but I think you have the overall tech sector is moving on Bitcoin, and so it's not only moving, cryptocurrencies and the coin, but like in general, it's just sort of people are just there's a risk off appetite right now, and people are just saying, you know what, let's just take a back seat. Look, from November of last year until what from the election running up to about January, I mean, you could have thrown a dart at a board and everything was up 10%. So the market priced in the stimulus, it priced in just the overall the vaccines and people coming back into the market. And now and then what happened in February, you can't just keep printing money. The U.S. government can't just keep printing money and not expect some sort of inflation. I mean, we're debt to GDP, we're at what, 15-20%. And so what you have is now from February on, you have the risk of not only inflation but stagflation too. How much of the economy was driven by stimulus? You give people $5,000-$6,000 checks. Yeah, you know what? It's going to spur some growth. And so what you've been having over these last 3-4 months now, it's just basically a risk-off appetite, a pause. Tech is taking it a little bit harder. Anytime you're in a rising interest rate environment, tech's always going to pull back a little bit more. And so we're in a wait and see right now, right? So it's just we're in a pause. And when you get moves like you saw today in Bitcoin, when it went from 40,000 down to 32, literally almost a blink of an eye, the risk off trade is there, and you need to get a little more defensive. You saw gold with a huge, people are flowing into gold.
Well, look at what happened with FCX today, for example. FCX
There you go.
had that one day down. It was down $3 at one point. I mean, FCX in 2 days, if you see the screen, went from 45 to 40. What's a huge volume? You have to trade these things. The same with X. The same with lumber. Forget about it. But let's talk about the coin for a second. So I want to talk even about a trade. Okay, so this is where you're watching Coinbase today, and you see that the stock on the open was right here, this bar, the first bar. So that's 215. You got to be watching the stock, even for 2 days, right here. So So why not put? And then, by the way, there's your confirmation as it held at 10:30 after the riffraff got out, as we say. It held at 216. So why not buy the open and buy the open stop, not aggressive, and then you're back and fill at 216. You probably add, and you're at 223. That was a trade. I'm just talking for a trade, for example.
One intraday, look, I made a living, basically just looking at intraday volatility and intraday trading. I mean, so that's all I looked at.
And that's why you made a living, because that's what you're supposed to do.
There was that slight divergence that happened right around that time, 10:15, 10:30. The stock, you have all this bad news on Bitcoin, and I'm a big day three kind of guy. I love trading stocks that are down 4 days in a row. That's when I start to get interested, especially if it's a good quality name or if it's something that's in play. I love those intraday reversal trades. But you need that indicator. You need that that sign that, hey, you know what, this thing might turn. And you just called it 10:15, 10:30. You had that pullback. I was watching Tesla. I got Tesla up on my screen. I'm watching Tesla. I'm watching SPYs coming in, made the low, and I'm watching coin, and it just hung at that 216, 217 area. Did not pull back. Maybe for the first time in 3 days, the thing didn't have a pullback. Next thing you know, market comes back up, holds. You get some confirmation with Apple and some of the other names, and lo and behold, you get a $7-8 rip in coin. And those are the types of trades that I used to. That's what I did for 17, 18, 20 years before joining TradeView. And those, you look for those kinds of setups on an intraday basis, And the same mentality then, Mike, also applies to, I always, when I was teaching a group of traders, I was looking at like I would always have like that inverted triangle. And at the top, you have like a macro.
Absolutely.
You start macro, and then you kind of, you look at the overall, then you look at the groups and the industries, sectors, and then you narrow it down to stocks. And so, you look at what's going on in the market. Okay, there's a risk off trade. Bitcoin today, takes out that key 40,000 resistance level. Coin is down, and you're looking for some sort of indicator that says, hey, you know what, maybe we're at a pivot point, and it's trading $14. Is coin done selling off? No, but if you're looking for intraday setups, I mean, that was a perfect one this morning, right at that 10:15, 10:30 area. And it takes a little bit of patience. You have to pick your spots, but it definitely gave you an entry.
Well, I appreciate that. There's a difference with that. I learned this the hard way, because when I first started trading, well, I still do it to a degree, only in a small manner. I'm still trying to get rid of it, if you will, contra trading. And that's, I've learned that the really way you contra trade, and I'm not endorsing it by any means. I'm telling a couple of the guys, that the interns, if you will, not to do it. I have to actually, I don't know, going off a tangent, but I have a trading responsibility, not to mold or not to help them into a certain style. I say I have to watch myself, because it could make a difference. With that being said, is if you're going to do that, it's definitely by the good quality companies on dips, and that maybe seem corny, but there are times when averaging the biggest mistake and biggest miscoming, a reason why traders and coaches said this, is people average, you blow up, and it becomes from averaging down. Comes from one thing, averaging down. If you're buying Disney, or if you're buying even Apple, in increments, 10%, 50%, they say is a crash. So if Apple's down 30% from a high, that's usually something where you probably step in with both toes. But if you're doing it with something, for example, I'm even saying, I will even use Bitcoin as an example. I was bullish on it. I'm not going to go into it now on that one. Actually, I shouldn't even use that as an example.
I'll give you one, EBON. Look,
Okay.
Those stocks, these stocks that go parabolic, that out of nowhere, the vast majority of the time you get these short squeezes. These stocks that go parabolic, and then you get that 50% retracement, and people are like, oh, this is it.
That's correct.
Once the chart's broken, and I've mentioned this to you, man, once that chart breaks, and you're in one of these parabolic stocks, the move is over. You're not in Apple, you're not in Tesla, you're not in Amazon, you're in something that these guys are just driving because they can.
You know what it also does, Mike? And I'm telling you, when you get stuck in one of these things, like I was stuck in Kern back years ago, something. Unfortunately, not only does it, are you watching, and when it dies, then you're watching for that. Hopefully, the only way you're going to get out of it is either major fundamental news, which is rare, or two, a short squeeze, which happens. But you'll be watching the thing for 2 to 3 weeks. It's going to poison your whole account. It's taxing on your mind, waiting for these thin losers to get out. So it's more than to be said about averaging down on those bad stocks, because
my time. I mean, I can't tell you. I mean, how many traders I've seen blow up doing this, going after these crappy stocks, thinking that, they're catching the next leg, and meanwhile the move is over. And more to your point, right? Psychologically, it's taxing. Now you're married to you're married to a woman who's cheating on you, and the thing's not going anywhere. And not only are you only focused on that, but now it takes you away from, it's the opportunity cost, because now you're missing other stocks that you should be in, that you're maybe a little bit hesitant to pull the trigger. because you're married to a Kern. And so that it's a double whammy. Not only are you losing, you're stuck in this thing, but now you're not really focused on other opportunities that are arising in the market. So again, time and time again, same mistakes that I see from retail traders over and over again. Hard habits to break. It's not easy to break, but if you realize you're doing it, that's the first step, I guess.
I have to say one more important thing, and you know why it could sound, it could be preaching or whatever you want to call it, but I learned, this is one of the lines I learned recently. It's harder to break an opinion than a habit.
Oh, 100%.
So,
the ego gets in the way, man.
If I don't, and I know that I've had some bad habits, I've had some bad opinions. So
the ego's ego, man, you got to check your ego at the door when you log on to your trade station.
We have any, let's get to some, I feel like I'm the coach now, like I'm the moderator. Do we have any stocks out there?
I'm looking, I'm keeping my eye on Boeing a little bit. Kind of double bottomed off of the 219, 220 area. It's been down here twice, making lower highs, still kind of in a lower pattern. Lower low, lower high pattern. I want to see, if this thing can hold like the 210 to 219 area, if it does take it out and just kind of sits there, it could give you, it could be a good entry down here. They took it up as high as 280. Back, it was a month ago, it was trading up to, got up to 280. So you got the 20% pullback, a little bit more actually.
All right, let's go.
So I'm just keeping an eye on Boeing.
No question, it's on my screen. It's always going to be on my screen. A lot of those boomer Dow stocks, they say, haven't been on my screen, but a couple are now, like Alcoa. Jeez, sorry.
Yeah, and with Boeing, look.
Here's an airline, but let me give you a transport. If I'm going to go to a transport, I'm going to go to United Airlines. Right here, it's above all the moving averages nicely. I posted that American Airlines. Look at American Airlines. That's a stock I want to be interested in if I'm in a transport. American Airlines has a nice 4-day move up on good volume. Still is not even close to being overbought. Hanging in there today. It's not even down that badly if you go to a weekly.
Yeah, and all these travel stocks, these airline stocks, again, I think
that's a good stock, by the way. Yeah, go ahead, Mike.
No, they had their move, right, with the announcement of the vaccine, and what you're seeing right now, you're getting confirmation that they're not pulling back. The market's kind of ticking down a little bit, and these things are holding. And I think, look, here in the U.S., things are starting to open up a little bit. People are going to start traveling. There's no, we might be maybe 6 to a year away from that, but once you get that confidence back, and we started seeing it already. All right, the news was out there about
started seeing it.
Some of the
Look at the Cheesecake Factory.
Yeah,
look at the Dave & Buster's. My God,
there's only the restaurant names and the airlines, and so this is so now you have, so Mike, now you have a fundamental reason, right? You have the economy, things are opening up, and now you combine fundamental, and now you look at your charts, and the charts are straightening up, and now so you combine fundamentals and technicals, and hey, you know what? There's no guarantee, but at least you're putting you're putting odds in your favor of, hey, of that trend, that uptrend continuing. And there's a difference between getting in on UAL and AAL on a pullback, and as opposed to, let's say, EBON, which
do.
Right. And so again, as a trader, know where you live, or are you in these crazy names, or are you in it for the long haul? And when you can combine fundamentals and technicals together, you're putting tremendous odds in your favor.
We are putting tremendous odds. That's why we're going to tune into more TGH throughout the day. Earnings list will be posted. You know what? If it wasn't for the fact that the VIX was up nicely, I wouldn't say that I would say take a break. I'm
Oh
not
yeah,
taking a
you
break.
got FOMC. Let's see what they
Yeah, I'm
say.
not taking, there's no breaks today.
Look, and I think going forward here, any kind of inflation, CPI obviously is huge, but anything that sort of indicates that inflation's ticking up, I mean, I think that's going to drive the market here for the foreseeable future. And you have the old saying, "Sell in May, go away." It's coming to fruition right now. So, but you have to keep an eye on inflation indicators, and just see if it's really becoming a problem.
Yes. All right.
So
So
FOMC is definitely part of that.
the next thing I'm going to post on the TGH, I'll post today's movers and gappers. If not, any questions, or some stocks, I'll try to get to them when I can, but I'm going to go back to work. But thanks for
Sounds
joining
good,
me,
Mike.
right? I
Yep, my
appreciate your
pleasure.
time. Thanks for
Yep, good
taking
luck
time out
today.
of your day. Appreciate the rest. All right.
Take care, Mike. Bye.